Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Tao Yin Alchemy classes. I hope you are all feeling good, and wow, this morning is very intense, already started. So tomorrow is full moon, and the energy is really rising. So just now, as I started this meeting, it got turned off. So my computer went off, and then I couldn't restart the meeting like 4 times. So I had to restart everything, the whole system. It's very interesting. But with the patience and trust and calmness, I know everything is going to happen and this will pass as well, like anything passes. So today we have a very synchronized topic, which is the energy. Actually, this topic is very, very huge and deep, and we are just starting to scratch the surface today. It's an introduction to energy. And there are many terms coming up throughout every class. So I will try my best to be really slow and be sure that everything makes sense to you. But if you at some point have questions, you can always ask in the chat or email after. So the question is, what is the energy? What is the energy in life that we have? We know we need to live, we need to breathe, we need to digest, we need to move simply, do things in life. But then, is that everything that we do with energy? Or is there another purpose behind that? Why do you think woman needs energy? For example, why men need energy and why women need energy. And these are completely two different. Because we have a basic foundation that we share to eat, to sleep, to survive, just to be. And then there is something deeper, which are completely different directions for women and for men. So let's start by looking into a presentation that I prepared for you today. For both men and women, the reason to have the energy is equal. It is to collect, to preserve, and multiply. But the way we do it, men and women, is different. So today we are going to cover only from woman's perspective. And there will be a class where I feel there is a need to dig a little bit into men's energy, because this is part of our life, because we affect each other. They influence us and we influence them. So when we know these tools, we can establish a happier and more balanced life. So collect, preserve, and multiply. It's like a bank, all right? If you consider your energy is money, and this is exactly the physical manifestation of energy on earth is money. So what we do, we collect, yeah, we earn, and then we preserve. We can also go and spend everything at the same time. And then when we preserve, it multiplies. So the name of the energy is Qi, which is in Chinese tradition. Prana is in yogic tradition, and spirit in shamanism. Why do we need to collect, preserve, and multiply? To develop ourselves, our family, and humanity. And this is only for women. We are collecting, preserving, and multiplying. First thing is only for the self. So it's only for you first, okay? And only then, when you fill yourself up, as we know from the previous class, you start sharing with your family, and it affects the whole humanity. So just by taking care of yourself, you are transmitting that inside of your family, and that affects the whole society, because society is built out of these little subcells, which are families. And the center of that subcell is woman, okay? This is the way of the woman. Now, where do we get that energy? Where does it come from? So there are two ways that we get energy, which is congenital, is prior to birth, and there is acquired, or the one that we are receiving after birth. Congenital energy is given us once when we are conceived. It's a joint effort or investment from our parents that we inherited. So there is third source inside that, which is the universe or God or anything that you would like to call it. So woman and man, they come together, and there is a source of power that really brings that intercourse, orgasm, and conception, which does not happen without interference of the divine. So we inherit that only once, and then it allows us to grow further. Now, acquired energy after birth, we receive constantly throughout life, and the measure of that energy decreases, increases, the volume, the quality. So it's something really changeable here, and it's not very changeable here. So we cannot go back to the moment of conception and change how much we get, right? And this is very important also to understand for future mothers and fathers, that when we conceive or when we plan a child, we actually choose consciously or unconsciously how much you will invest into your child. So that's why in ancient traditions, it was very important to marry a virgin, to have that really pure base, to establish really good generation, only for that reason. Congenital and acquired. Now, when we receive congenital energy, it is being stored in our glands and extraordinary meridians. Now, I'm sure you heard about meridians in Chinese tradition, but these are not those that you would go and heal or cure in acupuncture, okay? We're going to study what is the difference between those meridians and this extraordinary. So extraordinary meridians function before birth, within 9 months. They are primary generators, okay? It doesn't mean that after birth they don't exist. They exist, but they are not primary anymore. So they are just there on the background, holding space, and it's like the preservation field. So then acquired energy, when we receive throughout our life, decrease or increase our energy, it's been stored in the 5 yin organs. And the yin and the yang organs are 5 pairs, and we're going to check on them today. So the 5 yin organs are kidneys, heart, lungs, spleen, and liver, according to Chinese medicine and Taoist practice. These organs, you are breathing, you are digesting, you are receiving nutrients and vitamins, and also toxicity, everything that you would receive. It is all being processed through these 5 yin organs. It is very, very important information that when you live your life the way that you really feed your 5 yin and 5 yang organs, and I will refer to them as your children, okay? So as you are taking care of your internal children and you really feed them with quality food, nutrition, time and sleep and etc., you are making them overflow. So if you consider them as vessels that are being filled and filled and filled, and at some point they're becoming so full and nourished with that abundance of energy that they start blooming and overflowing. That which overflows starts going to the congenital, to extraordinary meridians and glands, and share this energy. You remember I told you that we receive this congenital energy only once. We cannot change it. But throughout life, when we are really balanced in our health, these 5 yin organs can support and feed. And this in Taoist practice is the climax or the main target of everything. All this Chinese traditional medicine, Qigong, Tai Chi, Taoist practices, whatever you think has this purpose. And in fact, it's not only about this philosophy and this school, it's only in yoga, also in any kind of religion, anything that you would pick as a self-development tool serves this purpose. We are here to receive so much energy, nourish ourselves, so establish peace and harmony within the body that it starts feeding that which is not directly accessible to us. It's like hidden, okay? So we can refer to this realm of congenital before birth as spiritual level. And in Taoist practice, it is called also as pre-heaven time. So this is pre-heaven and this is post-heaven. Now, where is the heaven? Heaven is somewhere in between. Heaven is when they balance and meet together. So the physical feeds the spiritual. Now, another thing is if you are not nourishing your body, your health is not balanced, your organs, your 5 yin organs are empty, guess what's gonna happen? Because these organs need to function. No matter you choose it or not, they will not stop. If they stop, it means death, right? Or maybe not such a tragic end. Maybe before that there is extraction, surgical extraction of an organ, but it actually slowly moves a person to a death. So if these vessels are empty and they don't have enough of nourishment from outside, they will go and steal the energy from the glands and extraordinary meridians. And this is how we know when the hormones are really going crazy, right? Actually, most of the time, the reason behind many diseases is that the hormonal cycle, the hormonal structure is really disrupted. It's like upside down everywhere, all over the place. So they become thieves. There are two things they can do. They can receive and nourish your spiritual realm, or they will steal from there. Because this is a preservation, okay? And this is given only once. And the target, the purpose of this energy is to be preserved. And this is, as I referred in the first slide, preservation. Now, if we look at the acquired after birth closer, so what's happening there? Let me introduce you to the 5 yin and 5 yang organs. These are heart and small intestine, spleen and stomach, lung and large intestine, kidney and urinary bladder, liver and gallbladder. So these are 5 couples, okay? The upper organ is yin and the lower is yang. And they're like wife and husband. They work together in your body. They function the way that they affect each other. So you see these arrows. This is a cycle where they affect each other. There are other cycles where they support and grow each other, and also a cycle when they suppress each other. So it's a big, big family, your children inside of your body, that really have this relationship within the self. So why the yin, which is the wife there, is on top? Because she's the boss. The yin organ is the boss, and it is the primary. So for example, if you would go to acupuncture and you will complain about something, the acupuncturist will find that, for example, your spleen is really disrupted. So it will work with a primary meridian of spleen, and the stomach might also be involved and might not. If you remember from the previous class, that the nature has both yin and yang, but the yin is the generating or the main ground, the main foundation in that balance. Now, these 5 organs have also 5 elements, as you see: fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. They are also connected to certain tissues in your body, to certain kind of fluid in your body, and also to a season. So all of this creates the 5-element theory in Chinese medicine. Our body is substituted from 5 elements, and in fact, everything in the world is substituted and built out of 5 elements. When we nourish and receive energy from, we will see how we do that, through these 5 organs. First, we are feeding the physical body, and we receive energy through nutrition, sleeping, movement, and breath. These are the basic, because they are basic, that allow you to simply exist and live. It's a survival. This is called animal level. And if you think into the about the animals, this is what they do. They eat, they sleep, they move, and they breathe. Also, they procreate just like us. And procreation, it becomes a natural outcome out of this. So, for example, if an animal does not have food, does not move, or does not have a breath, it means it cannot procreate. So we refer the same way to ourselves. In terms of animals, they would die, but we will not die straight away. We will deplete and become really weak, and it means that will be the quality of our procreation, very weak and poor. Now, the second level is when we are really nourished on the physical animal level, we can go to the next level, to energy body. And this is human level. I'm here referring, remember, to only woman's health, okay? So for woman, she can go to the next level where she feeds herself from the energy of her womb. And then she also receives energy from earth and moon. And these 3, they have direct interrelationship. If you would think of earth and moon, they both rotate. They have their spheres. The same happens with energy body of the womb. Womb is sitting there. First of all, physically, womb is a moving organ. Whether you know it or not, she changes her location throughout the month. We just don't feel that. Well, you will really feel that when you will develop your felt sense system. Now, they three rotate and they have their own orbit, and they interact together. They feed each other. So it means that when you are going to the next level in your practice, you start developing your energy body, you are able to feed your womb by the earth and by the moon. So it means that actually it's a cycle. So we are living in a cyclical universe. Everything has its rhythm and everything has its cycle. Even these organs on physical level, even the organs on energy level, everything has this constant wheel of change, right? Now, when we start nourishing ourselves on this level, the next is happening. It ascends to the spiritual body, and it's the level of spirit. And right here, we are working with the level of consciousness. So we have animal level, human level, and spirit level. Today, majority of people are living on only animal level. So I don't refer to you and me. If you are watching this class, you are someone who is curious. What is happening outside of that primitive animal level? What else can I have? How can I develop myself? Who am I? What is my purpose? Where am I going? Is there a God? What is this universe? All of these questions are moving you, pushing you out of the animal level to seek for answers. Then when you seek for answers, you start feeling that something in you is not, I would say, not correct, but something is not aligned. Like there is something more you want to know and something more to improve. So you correct yourself. And this is where you move from animal to the human level. Now, as I mentioned, you and me are here, but we are minor in the world. Majority of people, if you go out to the streets, you will find that majority of people are stuck on animal level. And believe me, they are beautiful, good people. It doesn't mean they are doing that intentionally. It's because we were never raised that way. So we are taught how to eat, how to sleep. We need to move in terms of like earn money and do some actions. We study, we go to university, we find job, then we find a spouse, we get married, establish family, and then it continues. So most of the time what I hear is that people don't have time, for example, for breathing exercises. They don't have time to look inside and understand what are these emotions are coming. Like there is no time to spend quality time with family. Yeah, everything is like a rat race, but there is always a chance or a conscious choice to change that. And this is happening right now. As we grow, we start ascending up. And the thing is that if a woman does not address the foundation in her life, she becomes a vampire. Okay, and let's see how. Now, I'm introducing you to the three containers that collect and convert the energy that we receive. The physical body is the animal level, and there is more subtle, the energy body, and even more subtle, the spiritual body. Now, each one has its own container, which has its location. So pelvis or lower belly, then heart center, and then the head center, which also resonates to the system of chakras. This is all the same, but from different angles. Now, the lowest is called lower dantian, middle dantian, and upper dantian. We are going to focus in our classes a lot on lower dantian, okay? Because it is essential for your vitality, health, and functioning throughout every day. So when I mentioned that a woman who does not nourish her physical body has her container empty. So because it's empty, but the body and the container want the energy. It was the only purpose they were created, to be filled, okay? So they become hungry, and a hungry woman becomes like a vampire. I want to refer to a book called Celestine Prophecy. If you will have a chance, please find this book and read it. It's really, really mind-blowing and so insightful. This book says that everything that we want in life is energy. Everything that we do is to get energy from any type of resource. So I'm a mother and I interact with my daughter. There are some primitive, basic relationship agendas like brush your teeth, clean your bed, or I love you, or let's watch a movie, or whatever. So this is all superficial. Behind that, our interaction means that we are exchanging energies, okay? And this is the only thing why we want to be together. We don't think of it. We never put it as an intention like, okay, let me go and speak to my daughter because I want her energy. We never do that. But it is actually the truth why we come together. When do we get energy? When we are in peaceful relationship and also when we have a conflict. So often, women who have their lower dantian empty and the physical body is not nourished properly, she becomes a vampire in the way that she interacts with the world to get the energy. So I will give you an example. Have you ever met anyone, I would refer to a woman, have you met a woman that seems to be sharing so many things? Like she would cook for you, she would give you something nice, she would give you compliments, or maybe if you are going to a circle, there is always this woman who talks more than anyone. It seems like she is sharing right now something, her opinion, her lifestyle information, but you always, like unconsciously somewhere in your back of the mind, you will think as if she is not actually sharing, she is taking. So she is taking attention, she wants to be in the center, and she is just stealing your time and your energy. So these kind of women are so many in the world. And believe we are all these women from time to time, myself including, each one, every woman on earth, we are from time to time playing the role of vampires because we are not nourishing ourselves correctly all the time. Also, because I referred to the cycles and rhythm, there are time in the cycle, celestial or earth, or your internal like menstruation and menopause. There are times in that cycle when energy really drops down. And most of the time, because we are busy, we don't pay attention to that. So we just keep on functioning. And this, when the energy drops and you suddenly feel you are depleted, but you are not aware of that. but you will react to that as you will go and look, where is the energy? Where can I feed myself? Who can I bite, in other words? So that might refer as to a very pleasant interaction with somebody or a conflict because you are hungry, and hungry female is very dangerous. Just like in the nature, the animals, right? Can you imagine a hungry lioness? She's gonna just destroy you. So this is what happens with us women as well. As I mentioned, the collection, preservation, and multiplication of the energy starts from the lower dantian. How does it happen? This container, throughout our vitality and fundamental needs, the basic needs, is being collected. Now this energy flows all the way to the lower dantian, which fills up, and these centers, they rotate. Energetically, they rotate around their orbit, just like Earth, just like Moon, every celestial body. So as it rotates, it starts preserving the energy. When it preserved, and everything takes time, so it takes time to collect, then it takes time to preserve, and then when it preserved and became abundant, it starts multiplying, and this multiplication ascends. So the lower dantian becomes full, and it goes up to the heart center, feeding the energy body. Now this starts being awakened, and it also preserves and then multiplies, and the excess or overflow goes to feed spiritual body. Meanwhile, as the every next level awakens, the lower dantian doesn't stop. It must continue to gain the energy constantly. As long as it receives the energy, the other bodies are working as well. But don't get me wrong, right now, you and me, we have all dantian active, and all our bodies alive and active, they're functioning. But the thing is, how do they function? Are they functioning as hungry and empty, or as they're supposed to work? And it all requires time. That's why the self-development, self-nourishing process is not a month or a year. It's years of practice, years of practice. Okay, now let's look into how do we leak? How do we lose that energy? So you remember, I referred to the sources: nutrition, sleeping, movement, breath, womb, earth, moon. Now, when we are not aware of correct lifestyle, these sources become actually the reasons we leak. So they become oppressors. Instead of sources of nourishment, they become oppressors. So let's say eating is so poor quality, such a poor quality, you are not actually feeding your hormones, but you are feeding your mouth. What do I mean by that? Because we have taste receptors in our mouth. We have our cravings in our mouth. So it's not that your body wants that burger or a meat or something that is really junk. It is the mouth, okay? So you feed the mouth instead of feeding the body. Now sleeping, we all sleep, but how and when? If you are losing those hours when melatonin starts secreting, it means you are not fully recharging yourself throughout the night. So the sleeping is there, but it's really poor and weak. Movement. Well, you wake up, you stand up from the bed, you walk through your apartment. Is that enough? Do you actually exercise? And if you do, are you doing that with correct awareness? Because simply going to gym every week or every day does not mean that you move correctly. Okay? Because body intelligence, the anatomical and physiological laws exist, and joints have their own rules. The body, the movement has its own rules. When you learn the rules, you have the perfect game. So the body is working and processing all the things that you receive through nutrition and sleeping correctly. Now, breath. Well, we all breathe, right? If we're sitting here right now, we are all breathing. But again, how? We don't notice that throughout the day, sometimes we hold our breath, sometimes the breath is really shallow, sometimes we don't breathe at all, or we go into the breath of panicking or stressful breath. So also we are not aware. The womb in this case becomes really depleted. So women experience so many diseases like PCOS, like prolapse, painful and dramatic menstruation, really intense menopause, um, disrupt of hormones, inability to conceive, inability to give birth naturally, and so on and so on. The earth becomes not the source of the energy as well, but becomes the oppressor. Let's say many people are influenced by the change of weather. Some people have really strong bone ache when it's raining. When the seasons are changing, people having allergies and different kind of reactions. Now the moon, the full moon, the new moon, the transition, the eclipses, all affect people today in a very intense way. For example, tomorrow is full moon, and I personally feel it so strongly right now. I feel like I'm PMSing. You know, I feel like I want to go to bed and sleep. I don't feel 100%. So this, I'm going to take care of myself really good after this class. Now, reasons. There are reasons why these sources of energy become the oppressors. There are many, many, many reasons, and we're going to touch on many of them in separate classes. Speech is one of the biggest reason we deplete. Okay. Emotions, which we're going to study today separately. So this class will end up with emotions. Menstruation, because we are not consciously practicing menstruation. It just becomes as a byproduct of our life, which we don't even connect with. Main life events happening here, and I'm all present there, and there is another event, internal menstruation, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just put that pad and go back to my things. Now, excess of activities. It means when we are in the constant mode of achieving, acting, and doing things, like a rat race. So this also really depletes us. And focus on external. When we are focused on how people like us or not, what do they think of us? Are we recognized and approved? Am I looking good in the eyes of those people? What do people say? What is their opinion? And so on and so on. So you are actually performing, you are speaking, emoting, menstruation is not even a present, and doing activities in order to satisfy the external society or your family or your children or your spouse. So all of these things, they become like a whole package, a foundation on which you are trying to perform your life. And the word trying is the key. From the previous class, we learned that there is no point of trying things. You cannot try. So if I will tell you, try to take this pen, what you will do? You will just take it. Did you try? What does it mean try? So you are just taking it or not. There is no trying. So when you are saying, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to sleep, you are actually not doing it at all, because this is the level of talking. And now let's look into emotions. I was really inspired by one of my clients with who I have this discussion very often about emotions. So there are a lot of things going on with emotions. First of all, often we suppress our emotions. We often do not recognize our emotions, and there are also times when we emote excessively or inappropriately because we're not aware. So we are holding emotions, and then we burst out, and this bursting is like a tsunami, okay? So this tsunami will destroy internally the health of myself, or externally also the relationship and other people. So now I want to introduce you to how this starts working, okay? We will refer to the body again. We have yin in our lower body and yang in our upper body. What does it mean? Let's remember what are the definitions of yin. Yin is something still. It is the realm of receiving. It's internal, it's hidden, it's invisible, and it's a movement. And in terms of motion, it manifests as pause. Now, yang is action, it's giving, it's superficial, it's visible, and it's movement. So this is calmness, and this is action. If we think of the biological body, what do we have here? The uterus and all reproductive system are really hidden. You cannot see them from outside. You cannot refer to them because they are so deep inside of the body. Even when woman is pregnant, we actually don't understand like what is happening there. How does the baby grow? It's really a mystery. So this yin symbolizes mystery. Now the yang center. The breast is also part of reproductive system, but it is the active part. We see how woman breastfeeds. We see her breast. Now in terms of giving and receiving, womb constantly receives the external support and internal as well. All the 5 organs, the yin yang organs that I referred, you remember the spleen, lungs, heart, and etc., they actually nourish the womb. Throughout the month, as we go through the menstruation and ovulation, that ovulation, it means that the follicle is growing, but nothing grows without nourishment. So all the organs, they nourish the growth of follicle. It means that uterus and ovaries are constantly receiving the energy and the nutrients. The breast is giving, it's mothering, it's nurturing. And also we have arms here on the same level. So it's the action mode. Hands represent action. We do with hands, we speak with the gestures. But as a woman, we have a tendency to give. We constantly help, we constantly nourish somebody. So it's a giving The word pause and movement, stillness and action really show us that woman can be really active, and this is the center of feelings and emotions. We have heart there, so the heart feels everything. When we are living throughout the emotions and moods, we react. We react in the yang level. Well, because you are acting. And how you are acting, because it's superficial and external, you will react to the external influences. Yin is showing that we're going into the mode inaction. Inaction can be different. It can be suppression, or it can be just neutral. So we are more neutral, which also sometimes translates as a negative aspect, which is suppression or numbing, and really being active or reactive in the heart center. So that's why women are often emote a lot, but at the same time, they are not connected to the womb center because it's quiet, right? And here it's in the heart, it's so loud. And here we can add deeper information about the 5 elements, the 5 organs. Each organ couple has its also a couple of emotions. Let's look at them. The heart and small intestine have negative hatred and positive love. Spleen, worry and trust. Lung, sadness and courage. Kidney, fear and calmness. Liver, anger and kindness. So in the Taoist tradition, there is a belief that the emotions that we feel are not just emotions, they are actually spirits. So when you are very angry, we can say that you've been possessed by the anger spirit for a certain period of time. Our organs are houses for these spirits. And interestingly, that every organ loves balance. Every organ wants balance. So this helps us to understand that we should not suppress anything, but we want balance. The heart wants balance of hatred and love, because hatred has its advantages when it's in a very balanced, limited amount. And love also. Love can be even negative. So you might think of situation when people are loving too much. They're too open-hearted, which does not serve them in a good way. And sometimes hatred can become like a wake-up call, like a slap, because you are not aware that you are living in really violent, maybe situation. So that hatred is like an impulse. So every organ desires a balanced relationship between negative and positive. The scale is equal, even. But what happens is that it's very rarely, almost impossible for us to balance these emotions, because we are not even sensing them as separate. So in the moment of emotions, we might feel everything at the same time. We're angry and hating, and we're scared, and then we're sad, and we're so worried. So it's like everything is mixed up together, and you cannot see what's on your plate. You cannot see clearly. These emotions are stored, housed in these organs, but where we experience them is in our yang. So the heart center, the breast center, the lungs, arms, hands. So woman becomes active and giving based on that emotion that she feels. Okay? Now, if we think of the containers, in that moment when we are emoting excessively, inappropriately, in the way that it drains and burns us out, the lower dantian is leaking. So the vessel that is supposed to gather and collect energy, imagine as if it has holes. So the energy comes in, but it doesn't stay. It's running all the time. In this case, the middle dantian reacts because it's not receiving from the first level, so it reacts, and this is where we emote. And the upper dantian is absent. It's like it's not even participating. The spiritual level cannot develop in such case because you are blocking. There is nothing to pass. On an emotional scale, there is plus 100 where there are very, very positive emotions, and then minus 100 where you have really negative emotions. And there is 0. So 0 refers to our mind. We might react to it as if it's something, I don't want to be 0. I don't want to be numb. Yeah, I want to be somebody who feels. I want to have really strong positive emotions. So the thing is, when we are constantly jumping to the extremeness of positive emotions, we will be naturally thrown to the other extremeness. So if you think of the ping pong ball, which jumps from one wall to the other, that way, whenever you are going to one extremeness, remember that very soon you will jump into the other. This is the law of the universe. Extremeness goes to the other extremeness. That's why eventually you want to start exploring the 0, because 0 means neutral. You might emote up to 10 on both sides, minus and plus, minus 20, and then stay in that frame and experience life. But you are not jumping like crazy to 100 and 200. Just like a ping pong that flies so fast, when we are emoting on extreme level, we don't see how the anger turned into a very strong kindness, right? So we are becoming victims of these emotions, and we are not to see where was this borderline crossed. One of the reasons why I picked emotions is that women are unable to recognize emotions today. There is a tendency to dwell in certain emotions for a period of time. The 0 point is not numbness, it's not ignoring, it's not suppressing. It is actually neutral, it's feelings, not emotions. Awareness, clear mind, and grounded. So the scale of 0 means that you are feeling things. You are feeling because you're alive. The only time when people don't feel is, in my case, the people that I met are under the drug subscription, where it's actual drugs like heroin or cocaine, or it's antidepressants or sleeping pills, which actually numb the emotions and feelings. But when you are in neutral, you are feeling life with brighter colors because you have clear mind, because you are able to experience and track what is happening. You are not a victim of jumping from one extremeness to the other. So I want you to start tracking, where are you emoting excessively. Why do we have emotions? Emotions are impulses that will help you to understand the reasons or the important lessons in life. So you are sitting right there, and then suddenly you are feeling worry. The worry surfaces not for you to dwell and to become worry. It surfaces for you to ask the question, what am I worried about? Why am I constantly worried about the same thing? What is the lesson there? And when you start uh, finding your answer, you are actually moving away or out of the worry, and you start taking actions to change that. So now I want to offer you a practical technique that you can start implementing in your life. If we look at these 5 elements and 5 negative and positive emotions, let's focus on them because they are truly the base. We have, of course, endless list of emotions. Those emotions are byproducts or sub-emotions that are coming from these fundamental emotions. Now, whenever you are feeling something, there are 3 ways you are feeling that. You are going into thoughts, you are going into emotion and sensation. So let's break it down. Let's take an example. I need to make a public speech on the stage in front of 200 people. And this thought takes me into panic. So I'm just panicking. So in that moment, it's a mix up. Everything is mixed up. Now, in this situation, what I will do, I will sit and break everything down. So thoughts. The thoughts are about going into public speaking. Now, what are the emotions here? Oh, fear. Fear of failing, fear of making a mistake, fear of looking silly, fear of forgetting my speech, fear of my shaky knees. So it's just one huge fear. Okay, I established the emotion. Where do I feel that fear physically in my body? So I'm finding the sensation. So I will close my eyes and scan. I'm thinking of the public speech. I'm feeling fear and I'm feeling it in the area of my gut and solar plexus. How do I feel that sensation? Something is really contracting and at the same time I feel that there is such a void, dark spot there, right? So now I broke down into 3. Instead of just sitting there and panicking, I took this situation and undressed it. It's like a whole picture, and then you take in the puzzles. When you do that, you already feel more grounded. And this is stage 1. Second stage is to actually stay with the sensation. So when I found the sensation of fear in my solar plexus, I'm going to zoom in. So right now, I want to do this together with you. We all have our own fears of something. You are going to refer internally to your own fear, okay? So let's start doing this. I want you to sit straight with your back, feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes. and start breathing naturally. Now I invite you to think of fear in your life. Ask yourself, what are you fearing the most? What is the most scary thing in your life? Think of it. And start increasing the volume of the emotion of fear. In other words, I want you to now experience. And there is this inner dialogue happening in the mind. What if this? What if that? What I will do? Just witness all of these questions that are surfacing up. And allow all this to be really loud and present. Now start tracking, scanning your body, and find where the feeling of fear manifests as loudest and strongest sensations. When you found it, zoom in, go inwards, get closer, and start understanding this sensation. Name it in your head. For example, I sense contraction. I sense a block. There is tingling, burning, and as if something is shaking inside. So this was example. Now it's your turn to understand and name it in your head. Focus on these sensations, only the sensations. And be aware of your breath. Now these sensations, they are foreign, they are guests in your body. You're going to use your breath in order to move these sensations. Let's inhale deep in through the nose and exhale through the nose. When you inhale, you scoop the energy from above your head. When you exhale, you will travel to that part of the body where you felt sensations, and slowly with that exhalation, you will start moving the sensation, centimeter by centimeter. You will choose your length, your speed. Very slowly, you will start moving it down towards your feet. And don't rush, okay? It's not with the one exhalation you move and flush everything down. You need to be respectful to every sensation you are feeling. Rushing and moving everything down in one way can be experienced as violent attitude. So we're going to do it very gently and slowly. One breath at a time. Inhale from above your head. Exhale and slowly move the sensation just a little bit lower. And feel how it moved. Now it's sitting below. Again, inhale, scoop up the energy from above your head. And exhale, move a little bit more. And continue taking in the energy through the breath and exhaling, traveling. And as you are traveling and as you are moving these sensations, I want you to notice how they start changing into new sensations. And as you are moving, connect to the excess of the fear. With your internal willpower, you will choose to leave a very small amount of fear in your body. And that which provoked the sensations, that part of the fear will move together with the sensations down towards your feet. Inhaling from above, exhaling sensations and excess of fear traveling lower to the pelvis and then to the legs. Continue your journey until you actually feel how they passed hips, knees, and I will meet you at your feet. When you will reach your feet, just wait there for me. Take your time, don't rush. Trust the process. Now, as you moved to your feet, feel all this presence of fear and sensations in your feet. With exhalation, you will pass this energy to the Mother Earth with the intention to transform it. And believe that she will take this and turn it into a resource that will grow into something new. Now, as this is out of your body, come back to the epicenter where you started and feel the presence of that balanced amount of fear that stayed. Connect to that. It's right there. It's a very quiet fear, a very healthy dose. Take this energy and move it into your kidneys. So separate this energy into two. One you are passing into your right kidney and one into your left. Connect to your kidneys and absorb this very healthy dose of fear that you need in your life. Feel its presence. Feel how it's floating there inside. And now invoke the emotion of calmness into your kidneys. And I want you to visualize how your fear looks and how your sadness looks. Maybe it's colors, maybe it's shapes, energy moving, whatever comes up to you. So each kidney has this internal dance happening between fear and calmness. Like yin and yang symbol, they are rotating. And this relationship of two emotions are feeding your kidneys. I invite you to start breathing through your kidneys. Inhale into your kidneys. Exhale from your kidneys. By this breath, you are holding space for that balance between fear and calmness. And feel how there is a subtle presence of power growing in your lower back. It's a very calm fear. That amount of fear that will allow you to navigate through life for survival, for self-defense, for protective purposes. Now, as you are breathing in your kidneys and witnessing this dance, I want you to think again about the situation that you chose to work with, but with a new attitude. And notice if your reaction has changed. You still sense some kind of presence of fear, but it has nothing to do extreme fear in the first place. Your mind is clear, and now ask yourself from the space of your kidneys in a calm way, what do you need to do? What actions do you need to take to change this? And believe the answer will just show up. You will know. And take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Send internally gratitude to your kidneys, to the spirit of fear, to the spirit of calmness, and send gratitude to this situation that shows up in your life so you can take actions and responsibility for yourself. Come back to the present moment. Feel your body in your space. Inhale one more time through your nose. Open your mouth. Traveling back. Gently opening your eyes. Oh. If you're yawning like me, it's a very good sign. Every time when you are doing a work internally, when you are yawning, it's a very good sign of energy movement. All right, that was very well done. I really hope this class brought some kind of clearance in yourself and a sense of internal compass that you can move forward. So please reach out send your questions. If you are getting stuck somewhere or if you are doubting something, I'm always here available to answer in any way I can. Have the most amazing time, and please continue using this technique. And eventually, it will take you just 10 seconds to do this whole journey, because it's just like the muscle that you start mastering and working. It will be so, so easy. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next class.